Happy Friday, Injae. How are you doing?
Hey guys, it is, I don't know, it's the end of the Friday for me. So very, very good. How you doing, Reed?
Pretty good. Just got back from FabCon as of last night, so
Oh yeah, like how was that?
it's a lot of fun. Atlanta is a significantly better location, I think, than Vegas for sure. So they picked well. Conference center's cool, and like there's just a lot more like culture, food, cuisine, like music stuff. So, and I have a few friends who live in the city, so it was a good chance to see some people catch up. I presented with Steve Campbell, and my business partner on the medallion structure in Fabric. We had like 240 people. I got to showcase a lot of those new interactive guides, and the fact that we were like we had zero PowerPoint the entire time. It's quite impressive for people because like this is so cool. How'd you do this in PowerPoint? Oh no, this is a custom website that we've built. Steve even
That's
actually
so
migrated
cool.
off of a learning platform, so all of our lab are built into our website now too, in a portal where people can actually create logins. They get the progress tracking on the side. They get the videos and the files, and there's like an integrated learning platform, so we don't have to pay a SaaS service for that.
That's super cool. Honestly, I do have to say that AI and generated stuff, even like websites, have come
Mhm.
along so far, which is what we're going to be talking about today, right?
Yeah, I mean, the if you can imagine it, it can. It's I would say it's really good for internal stuff and some external too, with more love. But I think it's very easy to build things that are good enough for you and or for your direct use, and then like it has reduced the time to build like I would say external stuff that's more like marketed or sold. But all of the time to do either of them, it just has drastically reduced for sure. Like it's sometimes you have to, at least for me, I have to rein myself in because there's like 10 ideas about like, oh, I could do this, but like that's a few hours. I could do this too, but that's also a few hours. And at some point, you're like on my giant laundry list of cool stuff that I could do, I only have so much time and what's actually useful for me versus shiny new toy.
I know what you mean. It's just like, I will say, my experience has been a tiny bit different because like over the winter, it's like when it's dark and I don't get enough sun, sometimes I go into like my winter phase where I'm a little bit more down, a little less energy. And I got to tell you, just seeing everyone post about AI stuff is starting to, it's like make my serotonin go a little bit haywire, even though I'm part of the problem and I post a lot about
Yeah.
AI stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, I think I might LinkedIn detox after this call for like a week. Maybe that's not a bad
Just get off
idea.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
no,
mean,
no,
you're
I'm
you're
here.
you're going to get a lot of noise from FabCon anyways, so it might be good to let
Oh
everything
God.
settle and and all the over sensationalism turn into sensationalism because there was a lot of cool stuff, but I'm sure people are going to be posting on like new sliced bread on a few things.
Oh yeah, no, I see like I see already a whole bunch of different posts and it's just it seems like a lot of cool stuff, but I feel like the juicier stuff hasn't really come out yet. Because last year in it's like in FabCon Vegas, I feel like there was a whole bunch of really cool things that came out. I think translytical task flows came out in FabCon, right? And so did UDFs, maybe?
Yeah, translytical task flows is now GA.
Yeah, and it's like that's really cool. I'm really hoping that it's good enough to replace a lot of these power app write back solutions that people have.
Yep.
Give me a shout out in the chat if you've used a power app solution to write back to your SQL database. Oh gosh.
It's well, and I mean on that, like the one of the few things that I was actually really impressed on is the Fabric Planner that it's Microsoft partnership with Lumo, but the thing that I think just is really useful on that is it ties into your compute units, so there's literally nothing to buy other than like you have to give up part of your capacity to use it, but it everything just goes through Microsoft. You have one capacity that plugs into it, and you have write back plus like a bunch of forecasting visuals and all the other stuff to do like either manual or automated planning, forecasting, or adjustments of data. And like, it's the best integration so far of anything that lets you do that with Fabric. That's kind of turnkey to a degree. So I think that has huge potential.
That's really cool. It's like so I'm just seeing in the chat. Jiri just wrote write back to SharePoint list through Power App, and I'm like, oh god, you know, SharePoint lists as a Power BI developer have been like the ghost that will never go away. People keep
Yeah.
using them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, honestly, I do think that I mean, there are worse things you could probably use, but not much. Like that's literally how I feel. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jake, I'm gonna say that it's like I have seen some translytical, it's like stuff in, it's like that is slowly moving to production, and it's really nice simply because it's so much faster than it's like Power Apps. But at the same time, we all know that moving from one technology to another is a nightmare, no matter what we do.
Yep. Well, the thing that I like just on the topic of translytical is the like that is what Miguel Myers is now in charge of. For people unaware, he used to be in charge of Power BI visuals. He moved over to that. It's also the reason all those demos are so pretty. Like, wow, this is a great look at you. It's because he's built a lot of that.
That's
Actually,
really cool.
yeah, I have a chat with him next week on some cool visual stuff that I'm going to be talking to him about. But he's one of my favorite people, and when it comes to like love of UI and UX, both, he's he's the go-to on that. So you know that like the front end's always going to get a lot of love, but also like not just how pretty it looks, but ensuring that it's functional and practical. I think he manages to actually do both very critically. A lot of the times you get really good UX or you get really good UI, but not often can the same person do both efficiently.
Yeah, for sure. We do miss him. It's like when in terms of native visuals, and I really hope he's doing well in his new department.
It's to shout out at least to like Zoe, who has done a great job so far, taking over ownership and a lot of the new stuff. Like she was just on a live stream here a few weeks ago, where it's like, here's all the stuff I tinker with. And during a presentation at FabCon, the development team was like, yeah. So a lot of the times nowadays, like when there's things that we're starting to build, like Zoe just goes and vibe codes it as a custom visual. Like, all right, team, we need this.
Yeah, no,
We want
honestly,
this in the roadmap. Yeah.
honestly, I think it's very cool that, it's like she's really taken it, in stride. Like there's I think I saw on somewhere someone posted on LinkedIn that Gantt chart is on the table for something to be released soon.
Yes. It will be its own visual because one of my questions during a workshop early in the week was like, would it be part of the matrix? And do I think that certain structural pieces to make
Yeah.
it a true Gantt, not a hybrid, is it will come as another custom visual, or sorry, not custom visual, come out as a new native visual in your visual list.
For sure. All right. So the topic today is generating reports. So let's dive into that. And I think maybe it's a good segue to dive into generating custom visuals. Maybe that's a good place to start since that's exactly
Sure.
what we were talking about.
Flip
All
over to
right.
your screen.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. So, it's like one of the first things that I wanted to show was more like what's possible just before we go and talk about how to do it. Because I'm like, AI right now is kind of overwhelming to me and maybe probably, it's like to everyone as well. But I actually think that, it's like there's so many different places. So we'll just touch on some of those places in today's call. And one of the things that I really love is what Phil Seamark did. I don't know if I have, it's like his blog up. I actually don't think I do. But Phil Seamark is one of the principal, program managers from Microsoft. And he wrote a blog in September 2025 about how to vibe code custom visuals. And with that, this is a vibe coded
Yep.
custom visual where I've got month, actuals, past year, forecast, PL. And basically, with that, you can go from horizontal to vertical IBCS with integrated totals, without integrated totals, with a total row, without a total row. And it's just, so easy to do now that I have to say that this really does feel like something that's going to become a lot like a bigger part of it's like organizations. If an organization has a specific need for a custom visual, the fact is that a lot of people can make it themselves now, and I think that's really crazy.
And
Now,
and just to pair on yours, because Phil Seamark was I think the first time he ever showed this was back at the Power BI Deep Dive. They did
yeah.
a 1 or 2 years ago, but Zoe was just also recently on the stream, and I linked the video to that, showing like how easy it is, where you could quite literally like take a screenshot, paste it into, she used GitHub Copilot, but Anthropic, or honestly any of them can do that, and it will make you a PBI viz file, spit that out, and as long as you have the right libraries installed to package it, and it's ready to go out of the box with an icon and everything. Like, it's crazy how quickly you can make one of these. The devil's in the details, I will say. It's always that last 5%, right? Like, it will get it close in 5 minutes, but then it might take you a couple hours to get the last 5% out of it.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely true. It's also like for a lot of people, I think now it's going to become very interesting where different technologies is used, because right now we're in like the wild west of there's so many new things. There's user defined functions, there's SVGs with user defined functions, there's vibe coded custom visuals, there's, it's like Deneb. What do you use in a way that's scalable and sustainable? I am going to say that I do think custom visuals is going to be quite scalable within a single organization. It's like, as long as it's like pretty straightforward and meets their requirements. But I'm also thinking like for something like a user defined function inside of SVGs, that would suit for most people, especially in like an IBCS style visual like this, as long as you don't need to have totals. Like, I think one of the cool things about the custom visuals is that if you were to try to just have SVGs that show this, it's like
Yeah.
column by column, very straightforward to do. It's like look no further than daxlib.org and go to, it's like Injae's IBCS SVGs. But if you actually want to do integrated totals and you want to show PL, PY, and total in an interconnected manner inside of a custom visual, it's just one click. But to do it with a matrix or table would kind of take a second, because you'd have to create a calculated table, put in PL, PY, and then union, it's like the actual category that you want. And it's just, it's, yeah. Matrix and SVGs for global scales is a nightmare,
Well, and
Jake.
to your thing,
100%.
and to just to your point on like some of the issues with SVGs, and I would say there's almost like 3 tiers to me. Is like you have SVG, which is the base, but then you lose certain functionality of cross filter, slicering, tooltips, a couple of other stuff. Then you go to Deneb, which can look very similar, but adjustments and toggling requires you to touch the code for it. And the thing that's really nice about full custom like this, as you're showing in the format pane over here, is you can build out whatever settings you want in there. So at least by the time it's done, code never really has to be touched anymore. You can just hyper configure it with as many menus and toggles and FFX buttons that you want over on that side. And it does make it more easier, I would say, with a custom visual to apply dynamic formatting based off of a measure that's a little harder to do in Deneb.
For sure. I think that at the end of the day, wait, am I muted? No, I've unmuted myself. Okay.
You're good now.
All right. No, one of the things I do absolutely agree with is that, it's like, if you're skilled with Deneb, just use Deneb. There's no need to,
Sure.
it's like go this far. But I'm also like, when it comes to Deneb and being scalable, I've always thought that it was like easier to, it's easier to install a custom, it's like visual than it is to install a, it's like Deneb visual, simply because you have the import visual from file. But then if you really think about it, a custom visual, like a custom Deneb visual, isn't that different either. It's like simply, it's like importing the actual JSON script for the Deneb code. Is that a JSON script? Like the actual, it's like template, Deneb template. I think that's what they call it. And it's like, that's been a really good way to make things scalable as well. It's honestly about the same number of clicks. And it's just that, it's like you don't have this user interface. So I feel like, I think there is a bit more friction with using Deneb, but I also think that it's barely any at all.
Oh no, for sure. I mean, there's a reason it's like it's loved so much by the community. It's the de facto platform for doing custom visuals. Like there's a level of each tier of if something can't be done do the next. If native visuals can't support it, sprinkle in maybe an SVG here or there. Can native visuals plus an SVG do it? If that can't be done, use Deneb, and that's probably going to also hit 90, 95% of your use cases. If that last 5% can't be met, then you can go full custom visual route, but it will take you longer. Like, you can get zero to output, I think, in Deneb with some templates and or vibe coding probably in 15 to 30 minutes in a lot of use cases. You could maybe get there with a custom visual, but I think that's probably, especially if it's your first time, going to take a couple of hours because it is more bespoke. You're building more from scratch and you're having to package. And you do have to, your organization needs to allow to use uncertified custom visuals. And a lot of orgs have that locked down. So that's another downside.
Yeah, of course. Especially if you're government. I find that almost every government, it's like org, it's like just has the lockdown. And government uses Power BI quite a lot, at least in the US. But Jake, it's like put in the comments that LLMs are not bad with Deneb. Plus, it has a lot of nice built-ins, but it's harder for other users to use for new reports, and passing parameters has to happen in the JSON def. And that is 100% true. And I think this is a good segue to go from, custom visual vibe coding to Deneb vibe coding. So this is like the second thing that I wanted to show. And I think a really good way to do this is to just talk about this stuff. And then, it's like maybe in the second half, we'll go through how to do a lot of this stuff. But, it's like this is something that I kind of made. And the thing is, it's not perfect. It has a lot of additional things that I would need to do to make this, something that I'd be happy to do. Like for instance, it doesn't have cross filters or anything, right? This is just one single Deneb visual, and also this was vibe coded as a potential power. It's like reports, and you can see that it exists inside of Power BI. The actual input for this, hang on, let me see, is, it's like, so I have a data set that contains some, IT ticket information, like for calls, chats, emails, and escalations. So it's like, it's like IT service center, and you can see, it's like how you're doing versus the previous quarter. What's the actual, it's like resolution time days were. What's your average days? Are you inside of, it's like the service level agreement, etc. What are the top 5 categories of, it's like ticket? You can see it's vibe coded, and there are issues like the coloring is between chats and emails is off. But this is a one shot. This is this is a one shot. And one of the things that has worked really well for me is this, where I have, to be fair, I have an image of what the end result would look like. So this is definitely cheating. Like, it's like when you're prompting for a visual, you probably wouldn't have this level of description inside of a visual, right? But I also did try to one-shot it using just a wireframe, kind of like this. It's like, and this is made in PowerPoint, right? Like you can see that this is, sketchy as. And this is also good enough to make something like this. The wireframe I found will not one-shot this. Like being able to actually describe that the, the past year is off, it's like center, is something that you have to physically describe. Like a wireframe like this is just not good enough. But if you are as descriptive as possible inside of your actual prompts, then making something like this is totally plausible. And one of the things that actually drove me to try this, Reed, was your post about how you connected Power BI data with, I think, Power BI APIs to a report using Vega. And hang on, do I have that post up? No, I don't have any posts up.
Yeah, it was just basically like, so it was surprisingly simple to use OAuth and XMLA just to pop the data into a custom dashboard. I did it in like 90 minutes, an hour.
Yeah, and I gotta ask, like, is that generally dynamic, or is it just like, you just load a subset of data? Like, how does that work?
So it does pull the measures and columns. So it will depend on the query structure. I've not I've so far only done visuals and I've done flat tables. I am actually exploring right now how to do matrix tables to make sure, like, because one thing to consider is, say, subtotals, because if it's calculating that downstream, it's going to probably do the, like, what people have always asked for is, like, can my subtotals just be an ad of the what you see visually, rather than native. But one thing I'm actually having an agent train on is I think there is a potential issue for very inefficient queries to be written, because it's kind of just like sending what you're
Yeah,
asking of it.
of
But
course,
so
right?
I'm having it actually build I'm giving it sets of instructions, have it build a PBIP with native visuals of, just really basic visuals, but like a matrix table with subtotals. Look at the actual query plan and, like, okay, that's how a native visual would do it. I should try to do similar, because there is the is subtotal and a few other stuff that's built into those curated query plans that are for native visuals, that I just want to make sure custom ones. But so far, everything that's been built by those, it can run, because that's just an XMLA request, right, of a query plan. But it needs to do it right. So I think it will. I've noticed it has a tendency, if you do anything that has parent and child values, it will send the base query and then aggregate it itself. Off of, like, what data it's already fed out of. So it does have to have a data export based off of the query plan. So it will largely depend on how you've trained it to send when you're doing a custom report.
I think it probably also depends on on your model. Like, it's like, can it aggregate
Mm,
that data and send it on, right? And it's just like, it ties back to the fact that data engineering isn't going anywhere. It's like how
no.
good your reports will be in the future if we do actually just go into HTML style visuals or like reporting, is how good your semantic model is, which I think, thank God, it's like semantic models are probably going to
Yep.
stick around for a long time. Yeah, but it's
Exactly.
also so um I'm gonna share some notes with you, especially when I was making this, right? I think that, to being able to one shot something like this is cool, but almost useless. For one, you need to, it's like actually be able to click things, and it's like, of course you can filter things, using, it's like something like this where you have a filter on the page, but that really doesn't, it's not good enough for, it's like the actual reporting sensibilities. I think when it comes down to it, one of the things that I've had a lot more success with is when you build a report and you build each component one by one. It's like if you actually, it's like build like, it's like the top part just as static images. You build the second part here, this part as a card. You build the actual, it's like part here as a visual. And one of the things that is really crazy is that you can kind of start using the PBIP, it's like file format, as well as, it's like having an actual idea of what the report is going to build. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in Deneb. It can be in, it's like HTML. It could be in SVGs. It could be in whatever you like. But I think this is maybe a good chance to segue into the fact that I made this report, which obviously you can see it's not perfect, but this takes that idea of every single item is separate. And this is in the HTML content custom visual. So the one
Yep.
before was in, it's like the Deneb custom visual. Funnily enough, they're both made by the same guy. So Deneb
Yeah.
i-
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
made by Daniel Marsh-Patrick, and it's a fantastic thing. And it's like, if any viewers haven't tried it yet, definitely recommend giving it a go. But the HTML content light, this one is also made by the same guy, which I think is very cool. Uh, if anyone's watching and you're thinking about trying to replicate this, make sure that you're using the HTML content light, the one with the blue check mark. If there is another one that doesn't have a blue check mark, and a lot of people get confused by this. It doesn't have a blue check mark because it's not certified by Microsoft. In order for a custom visual to be certified by Microsoft, it has to go through a couple of checks, and that includes not sending information out via it's like a website or through the internet. So HTML content light is stored and it doesn't send any information, but HTML content can. which is useful if you're going to use an API to bring out fonts or something, or you have, it's
Yep.
like something that's rendering something from somewhere else. Like a really good
Yeah,
example
yeah,
of that
yeah.
is Google Fonts.
Yep.
And it's just like, or even icons, right? Like if your icons are stored somewhere else and you're trying to render them, then you might have to use this one instead of that one. But just be warned, not all organizations allow for non-certified visuals. Okay, but this is so HTML video, I do think Jake is
The
asking if
non-light one.
HTML, yeah, the non-light one can.
Yep.
So Jake is asking, we need to figure out if HTML video can play in the web video, and with the custom visuals, the non, it's like light one, this one can do that, but the other one can't. So X to the check mark. Okay. So this is one that I'm super proud of because this is Jake says I have plans. That makes me chortle. Okay, so this one I'm super proud of because HTML, and I'm gonna bring out the context for this because I love this HTML content Power BI. Let me see if I can't go to that documentation. So I found out pretty recently that okay, on the website, no, oh yeah, here, this is where I want to be. I found that the HTML content visual has some documentation about data roles, content formatting, style sheet, interactivity. It's been for HTML visuals, it's a game changer. And if you make HTML visuals, I really hope you try this out because you know how you can click and drill through different parts of a regular visual? You can also do that with an HTML visual with, it's like tooltips with drill throughs. These are all HTML visuals, and it's totally possible to do that, which I did not know before. And it's like you can just go through the documentation about how to do that. But also, if you're a web developer, you probably know that there's like a lot of different libraries like Tailwind, or it's like other CSS
Mhm.
libraries like Bootstrap. Did you know that it is technically possible to put in your style sheet the entire Bootstrap, it's like library in order to actually use that inside of your
Oh,
visuals. So there's a whole lot of things that you can do, especially with existing libraries. It's not always the nicest or prettiest thing, I do have to say. There's also errors that, like, not errors. There's bugs that you can find in the HTML content, for example. If I filter, if I have a specific value inside of my, it's like a visual that is a visual level filter, and I try to cross filter it, what will happen is that if I click on this month number 5, it will cross filter to, it's like this visual as well. So this visual will, it's like affect everything. That makes sense
mhm.
because, it's like that's a month number. But what if I have something that's not a month number? So let's say, okay, disregard my horrendous, it's like measures because this is all vibe coded. So it doesn't look pretty. I accept that. But let me see. I have something called interaction type. I'm going to unfilter this. I'm going to set this as calls. This is an interaction type of, it's like the actual tickets that we were talking about. So if I set this as calls and I click on this, it's like sometimes you'll run into the error where because the visual is pre-filtered with calls, if I try to use it to filter everything else, everything will suddenly become blank. And this actually has, it's like is a bug that I've seen quite often with the HTML visual. It might be patched, it might not be, but it's like that's something that I, it's like have seen before. Because the way that I would build something like this is I would probably build one of these, copy and paste it, and then filter every visual by the interaction type in order to get multiple different things. But I think that, like, of course, we have to be a little bit careful. But I do think that the coolest thing about all of this is that this was made with Claude Code.
Yeah, of course.
with Claude, I decided to create a skill. The skill is called PBIR HTML. So if anybody doesn't know, PBIP is a file type that your Power BI file can, it's like save itself as. It is a preview feature, so you'll actually see that the Power BI project save option, which is kind of confusing for some people because under this PBIP save option, there's two different ones: store semantic model using Tyndall format, store reports using enhanced metadata format PBIR, which looks
Mhm.
suspiciously similar to store PBIX using enhanced metadata format PBIR right under it. Just click all of them. But once you do, you have the ability to save a file as a PBIR file. What that does is it allows you to save a. No. Gosh, where did it go? Here. Okay. That allows you to save a, it's like semantic model and a report like this, where you actually save the reports as text, where you define all of the different aspects and pages of the reports in JSON code. Most people know this. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but basically what it does is it allows you to do a whole bunch of really cool things where inside of each page you can see information about a visual. What that allows you to do is, oh, that's my other skill, is actually create, it's like all of these visuals on the page without building them yourself. You can tie in different values to the visual, and this report is 90% generated. The only thing that I did
Mhm.
was I put in the wallpaper or the background to make it look a little bit nicer, because without the
Okay.
background, it,
Yeah.
it doesn't look, it's like super great. But yeah, so I think like this is pretty crazy for me because, it's like just the fact that a Claude skill is able to do that is pretty insane. So, what is a
I like
skill?
it. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
I'll have
think
a good
that's
link to while you're talking about it to post on this.
oh yeah, that'd be great. So a skill is basically a file that has a set of instructions, right? And it's going to say, it's like these are different, it's like things that you have to do, especially if the skill is invoked. And hang on, maybe a good place to start would be Anthropic skills. They have documentation on this, and it's like I think Anthropic actually is the first company who made agent skills. And they've been out since October 16th, so it's not even been
Yep.
like a full 6 months. But Agent Skills is basically a .md file, a text file
Mhm.
that allows you to compose a set of rules for a
Mhm.
specific action. And because it's just text, it's basically, it's like, it's like one of the easiest ways to think about it is you're just putting a little bit of text on top of any command or prompt that you send, and it always goes back to that. And it's like you can have it in a specific folder. You can have, it's like it be something that is across all Claude access. And there's literally thousands of skills that are available on GitHub for like web development, for API building, for whatever you could think of already. But what I did
The
was,
important, I'll just say the
go
important part
ahead, go
about
ahead.
that too, and I posted a link on it's called the hidden tax in your LLMs, and it just breaks down like what goes around in each turn with context window. Skills are very lightweight. Especially if they're a composition and inheritance where your skill might just point to all of the Python files or other stuff that you need to. So they do use up a lot less of your context when handed off of like, these are ready to use, unlike MCPs, which outside of some newer optimizations that I've heard have come out recently with them normally take up a good chunk more of your initial context that's being set to it. So there are, I think you probably yourself included, people have started to use skills a lot more for things rather than full blown MCPs. Just because I feel like you can have a lot more skills readily available. If you have 25 MCPs on, you probably have very little context left that can be
For
used
sure.
for chatting. Yeah.
And it's just like, the good part is that something like this is a proof of concept which shows that the idea works. The bad part is that I am paying for the max version of Claude Code. I probably don't need all of that in order to, make something like this. And but like there is a very significant cost. I am still on the subscription. I'm not paying any API costs, but it wasn't cheap to, it's like get this, it's like up and running. And I do think the technology is going to get better and cheaper. But even so, right now, do I want to make 10,000 of these? I don't. I don't think that that's like something that would be very good to do. But when it comes down to it, I do think that one of the things that Claude does incredibly well is that inside of any context, you can, let's see if I can just hang on a sec. Let me see if I can open up a previous chat. Okay. One of the things that I think is very cool, and this is one that I'll show in a sec as well, is you have the option just to turn your, it's like chat context into a skill. Find
Hmm.
out what actually worked and make it into a skill that you can use and reuse. Really, really nice. And, it's like it works incredibly well. And
Yep.
I see people posting on LinkedIn on a daily basis that, oh, we made this report, we made this in AI, we made this with PBIP. It's already happening. Kurt Bueller and Maxim has already started, it's like they're beta testing CLI for, it's like
Hmm.
formatting native visuals. So the native visuals thing is going to happen quite soon as well. Like I do have another skill that will create native visuals as well. I'm not going to show that right now because it doesn't work nearly as well as these two options, but it works in a similar vein where, it's like it takes the context and it generates, it's like visuals. Here it's generated HTML content, light custom visuals, and it's like formatted and added stuff to them. But if we could just do that with native visuals, then that would be an insane step forward for report development. But the elephant in the room is, of course, so what am I actually using to do this? I'm using Claude Code. I'm
Yep.
using the Claude desktop. You can use Visual Studio and you can use GitHub Copilot. You can use Anti-Gravity, it's like Google's IDE, and you can use Gemini to do it. They all allow skills. Even ChatGPT is now going to allow skills. Well, but ChatGPT doesn't have like a IDE to work off of unless you're inside of Visual Studio, inside of GitHub Copilot, and you're using that specific model. The problem here, the biggest problem that's, it's like we have to, the biggest elephant in the room is that the data does go to the AI model.
Hmm.
So uh, one of the things that we have to be very careful of is I'm using this for one specific purpose to create proof of concepts. Because I come from a consulting background, and when I, it's like talk to any stakeholder, usually we'll be doing discovery. Out of the hundreds of discovery sessions that I've done, before a project starts to align on, what the project should look like, I've had like maybe 5% where I've had the data available. Like I mean, it's like I know this, this. I think most people who are consultants know this. Um, you might have an idea of what they want. You might have an idea of what they tell you they have, but you will not have the data for a little while. So to try to heal a little bit of that trauma, one thing that I did was I built this, which is okay. Here I'm gonna scroll through a couple of these. Right, this was one of the first outputs of a skill to create it's like mockups in HTML. This is
Yep.
like things that were okay, but you can see that there were, it's like issues, and progressively it got much, much better, much, much faster. So I was trying to see if I could do, it's like multiple things. And the input of this is some of you might recognize that it's called Briarport Data Viz Week 1. Absolutely, Jake. Awesome. This was the Power BI World Championships 2026. Do I have it? Maybe it's this one. And this was really cool for me. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's this one. This was really cool for me because it's like I got to compete in the Power BI World Championships last year as a finalist in Vegas, and I wanted to see if this amount of context. So we have what is the audience profile? So who's the actual it's like personas that we're looking to give the data sets to? What are the requirements? What's the judging criteria? And this is all of the context that I gave, and I created a skill that would interact with the Power BI MCP, like the model, and look at my existing Power BI reports, the actual reports that you would get with the starter file. So basically what it was doing was it was going into the data set, looking at the data, aggregating it, trying to find an analytical
Okay.
perspective, and then
Mhm.
it was building this as a mock-up. It
Nice.
this here, not that great. I'm gonna click through these because I want to show you like how it's like over a couple of months it got better and also it got worse. The themes that I was using to try to make it better was like, are we using different kinds of personas? Are we making different reports? Are we using the column? It's like style of reporting of it's like UI UX from web development where you use columns to try to center things. Um, Yeah, don't think MCP is banned from the competition rules. Rock up to Atlanta with a skill. That would be
Right.
something, right? And it's like and you see that some of it is better, but I'm also trying multiple different styles as well because here it starts to get a lot better. And I'm much happier with like thinking about accessibility, thinking about different types of visuals, but it keeps getting a lot of things wrong. Like this looks like just a logo. It doesn't even, look like a chart. And there were all of these small things that I kept having to try to fix. And it got, it's like better, it got worse. And this was a full, it's like journey where it's possible to get a pretty if you look at it for just 1 second like I'm doing right now, it looks okay, but you'll actually see that there's like a lot of additional white space. It's like charts are being
Mhm.
cut off. It's like things
So
that wouldn't fly in a reporting and it's like environments, right? Like this is pretty okay. What's this
so
random column doing? Like,
out of
and
curiosity, since this is meant to be mock-ups because you'll eventually build a
mhm.
this will be built in Power BI. What would be the advantage or disadvantage of this versus say Nana Banana or others? Where like if you just need a wireframe picture to show the concept, like this is what your data output could look like. Have you explored those or
Oh,
just
for
curious of your
sure.
thoughts? Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, I'm gonna say that when it comes to using Nano Banana, I feel like the biggest problem is probably the fact that it's very obvious. It's very obvious to tell if an image is AI generated. Like Jake says in it's like the chat, people like to click through this. I don't have the filtering set up. It's like you can just see that there are filters, but being able to make this interactive is just one additional step from actually building this. So once you have all of this stuff, making it actually work is, literally a couple of clicks away. So you can see that
Sure.
all of these reports have issues. And, it's like, even though they look pretty okay, I'm like, I want you to be a little bit skeptical because these are all previous outputs. The current outputs that I have look like these. Oh God, so many tabs. Okay, anyway, so this one is one that I'm, it's like particularly happy with because I feel like all of this could be made inside of Power BI, and that was one of the things that I was kind of moving towards, especially because this specifically is looking to make sure that we eliminate white space, make sure that we try to create things that are not so, AI generated Poppy SVG style. This is stuff that you could make inside of Power BI. I do feel like most of these things you can. Like some of it
Yeah.
isn't perfect. Like you don't need a dot where the where the chart ends, but
Yeah, sure, sure.
that's forgivable, you know? And a lot of these things, in my opinion, is where I would like this idea to go. Doesn't matter if you know, it's like don't like the, you know, it's like dark modes. It's okay. It's not perfect. But you know, it's like being able to, you know, it's like tell someone, hey, look, this is something for HR data. I am going to try to create something for you. Please let me know what is good and what's not. And one of the things that I found is that I have right now 10 different styles. I can ask it to generate something in 10 different styles. I have 10 different, you know, it's like versions of pages that people can look at. And if I was going to take this to an HR director and say, hey, look, this isn't supposed to be an analytical report. This is more supposed to be something that a CEO is supposed to look at. Take a look at these pages. Tell me which ones speak to you. Just, you know, give me a ballpark of what you actually want to see. I think that can spark a lot of really interesting questions, especially if you're like a consultant. And, you know, it's like not everything is a home run,
The
but
colors on this one remind me of Kurt's posts. Whenever you
yeah,
see the beige, yeah, I always think of Kurt.
yeah, no, I do as well. Like Kurt's Goblin, you know, it's like is lives rent free in my head, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like all of these, I think the magical thing about this is that all of these were created in one go. So I made all of these 8 different versions in one go. So, you know, like the chances are that something is going to stick. And on the one hand, I feel like this is diametrically opposed as a Power BI developer, because I don't think that design should necessarily be part of the AI process. But I also think this is, you know, it's like not really a part of the actual designing process because the discovery where you actually get the input to create these prompts is far more important than the outputs here. Of course, these have value, but being able to actually talk with your stakeholders and articulate on the page what they actually want, that's the only way something like this will even be valuable. So, you know, I really hope that that's apparent. And I also hope that it's apparent that it's still not perfect, right? Like this is um, cut
Yeah,
off part of the
yeah,
algorithm.
like, but to your point of like it's supposed to give you a proof of concept. It's you know not a rough wireframe, but it is also not a finished product. It's to help to spark ideas, show art of possibles. Like, oh, I hadn't thought of thinking of my data in that format, but this gives you such an easy way to do a bunch of mock-ups. I'm sure too is
Yeah,
also like I like this. Like, you know, what about if we did X, Y, and Z? You could quickly throw it back into there. Like, all right, is this roughly now what you want? Yes, cool. I'm going to go make it Power BI because it's probably faster to iterate changes here to get it good enough to then know the first version that you might want to make in like the actual tooling, which is going to take more time.
absolutely. I'm like, when it comes down to it, I do think that if you think about the things that we've been talking about today, and we consider, for example, you know, let's go back to one of the one of the nicer ones. So if we consider this one, and you know, it's like if we actually wanted to make it, let's say you have a unicorn, you know, it's like client, and they give you access directly. Let's say that you are able to, you know, it's like agree that you will use a subset of data, and you can, you know, it's like randomize it, you can mask it, whatever you want. You can have it as a CSV and Excel. It doesn't even matter if it's a SQL, you know, it's like database or something. If you can connect, you know, it's like with MCPs to that data, and then you ask it to generate, then clients can see something like this with their own data set. Of course, you know, it's like there's a lot of extra steps that you have to take in order to like mask the data, make sure everything's safe, etc. Or, you know, it's like if you use Copilot and, you know, it's like they're pretty stringent with the data there, and you can still use the AI models. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. And I think that's going to be a big part of consulting in the future. Or I can't see why you wouldn't want to do that, you know?
I th- I mean, eventually we're all going to be able to, to make the same things, right? Like anybody can, take a screenshot and make something. I think your special sauce of how you like to do it is like your critical thinking of like, you have a certain way that you like to design reports for reporting in a layout. I have a slightly different way that I probably like to lay stuff out. It's like an artist with a canvas, right? Like at some point the tools are going to be good enough. Our actual skill of painting isn't going to be the factor. It's how we paint. I think to some of
Yeah.
these things. Same with, I think it's going to be that from the report layer, and then as a quick anecdote, like more architectural guidance in an ecosystem, which is still kind of hard to do and figure out connecting pieces. But I think it's going to be the artist style, not the artist skill, that will start to get leaned on more as the tools make it easy to have the skill generically.
Yeah. Of course. And the reality is, I think that this is cool. This will be everywhere
Mhm.
in a couple of months. It's like
Yeah.
I see people posting about, it's like PBIP, and I see people posting about HTML stuff all the time. I just hope that, it's like once we have this, creating it into, it's like using the HTML skill to make this into something, it's like inside of Power BI will be, just another step, right? So if you want to have not HTML visuals, but you want to have Power BI reports, maybe there's going to be an easier place to start. But of course, it's possible right now with HTML visuals, but I don't know any client who's going to accept all HTML visuals, right? So, like Jake says, the special sauce is going to be pushing it into a specific direction, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, and with the shortest amount of time that needs to deliver good enough, right? Because perfect is the enemy of good. But like it's, if something can be 10% better but takes 3 times as long, that's
No,
where the
it's
like, all
not.
right, I'm willing to accept good enough.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna show the last thing. Give me a sec. Python server dot py. Okay, if I start lagging, please let me know because I am showing a website that I made. This is a data product that I made for it's like for fun. So I found out there's this API.sports. And API.sports or dash sports is just a website where you can download data for a lot of different sports. Uh, they've got a whole bunch of different stuff like football, it's like baseball, basketball, Formula One, etc. And it's just a really cool place where you can get some data, it's like for relatively cheap. So what I did was I wanted to learn how to see if I could make like a note-taking app. Like let's say you're a director of basketball and you can go to a specific country, look at the different leagues, and you can select someone, see their actual data, their career history, the games that they played. You can write like a comment and stuff. But the most interesting thing for me was right now, Edward Carson is not inside of, it's like my people here. But if I go back and I actually say date of interest is today, priority is high, heard from a game on TV, a scouting agency, wherever. And I, it's like just write that. And I can like, it's like put a test comment and just post it. So if I go back, now that person has been added to like my scouting players. Fair enough, pretty simple stuff. But the thing that I love a lot about something like this is that I am a Power BI developer and I've been using Claude to, it's like test different things, to try making different things. This is not a dashboard because obviously it's not, but it does have some really cool things like the fact that I can write back, add a player to my database, which is in SQLite, which is local to be fair. It's like this is just a proof of concept, but it can also do some really cool things. Like I can it's like add a PDF generating, it's like button where it will just create the, it's like actual person's, it's like layout for me. And I think that a lot of these kind of things aren't possible inside of a dashboard system as of yet. Like, just having a website like this, being able to generate a PDF, that's what a lot of people would like to do, right?
Yep.
Especially, and it's like, yes, we have, it's like report servers, it's like, gosh, we even had SSRS back in the day, but those are not easy to, like to actually make.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
it's like that's a skill in itself, right? And like even this simple functionality where you can like make things smaller and then the page gets smaller. It's like a very simple functionality that you'd find in any website is impossible to do in Power BI unless you just have like a very long page, right? And
Some of
it's
these
like,
little things, just to mention on that too, is like I've done a lot of like custom embedding like HTML reports, and like there's a few small little things that I like one, like a filter pane that I have that opens and closes. I have a toggle in my config to say overlap or push the charts, and if it pushes the charts, they automatically resize. Like if you change the window of your browser, it automatically will reorder your cards, and a lot of the stuff, or
yeah,
your visuals, and stack it and make it like you don't need mobile layout. You kind of have the single thing that does both. Like there's a lot of I
exactly,
think
right?
dynamic changes in sizing that like is impossible to do in Power BI desktop. Or like I do remember I've actually had to build this before with a client. So on a report page with a custom pop out window, when it pops out, it hides the report canvas and it loads another group of the canvas with all of the visuals actually shrunk and
Yeah,
off
yeah.
to the left of that. But it's 2x, it's all these things that looks like a website, but it's not dynamic. It's literally multiple copies of stuff to reposition. And HTML is just like 2 lines of code and it just does it.
Yeah,
It's
like
so much easier.
100%. And it's also like, um, the fact is something like this, where let's say I change priority for, it's like Mr. O'Reilly, and I can see that Mr. O'Reilly's, it's like thing is just instant. And, you know, Reed, I know that you've like your toolbox has a really cool update for, it's like how to manage bookmarks. And I don't think there's anything
Mhm.
else like it on the market right now. It's like where there's an actual tool to help you manage bookmarks in Power BI. But
There's a couple of other GitHub scripts that just shows you where to edit the code, but nothing with a easy
a
button
UI, yeah,
yet.
and it's like,
Yeah,
and I love that, and I don't have it on, it's like me to actually show, but I think that bookmarks in general are still really tough to use,
I
especially
agree.
because, it's like you change one thing and then you need to change 20 things, and it's just like, it hurts, man. Like I have had a lot of experience of redoing bookmarks, especially when I was just starting out and I was learning about how to use bookmarks. And the the it, the reality is that it's fantastic. It's a fantastic thing that, it's like you can change one visual to another visual in one go. I do think that the number of clicks you have to do for, it's like modifying a bookmark though is egregious. Just, yeah, that's the best word for
Yep.
it.
Yeah, like I mean, uh, it's a bull in a china shop. Like to do well, to change one filter, you need to capture like hundreds of lines, if not thousands of lines of code, because it has to capture everything on your page. It's nuts. So even if you like, so it's a chainsaw for surgical procedures, essentially.
For sure. Yeah, at the end of the day, I'm like, when it comes down to it, I do think that a lot of the things that we see inside of Power BI and the readiness of Power BI for vibe coding, is entirely reliant on, it's like the team and how much, it's like they can push out. Like even the Power BI modeling MCP was an insane drop from Microsoft because it allowed us to
Yeah.
do so much already. And I have a lot of hopes for them that they can do something similar for visuals as well. And that, it's like I'm pretty excited. I do think that a lot of the Power BI job as a whole is going to change, but I don't think that's a bad thing.
Well, again, as the tooling becomes easier and easier, the expertise of the knowledge of how to build a well-designed report, I think, will take a little longer to go away. Eventually, even like I'm sure Copilot and others will start to have recommendations for like types of data, for that. But I think the knowledge is going to go into more of a higher thinking level, a bit on like, are we asking the right questions and other stuff like that? Because it's like customer. I saw this chart on a book. I can get that into you in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Versus like a year ago, like that's going to take me a few hours in an SVG or other stuff like that. So I think we're just going to raise ourselves to a higher level of critical thinking, as the needed skill to make sure something, because we're going to end up with, so I think customers with Copilot are going to end up with dozens, if not hundreds, of really well built, beautiful, like, and maybe even useful. At some point, Copilot will be good enough for that. But will it be used? Is the question. We will be inundated with so many reports that will probably sit there and like, is anybody actually looking at it? Is it being used to drive decisions? We'll end up with report siloing, not data siloing, just because it'll be so easy to turnkey like generated reports. And like, why are you paying for your such a high capacity? Well, we have generated like 5,000 objects in our ecosystem with self-service BI.
Yeah, like I think that's really one of the scariest things because self-service BI is going to be easier. Like Jake says,
So much
reports
easier.
are going to be cheap, and
Yep.
when things are cheap and easy, the most important thing is going to be how do we find value, right? Look, I've been watching, it's like Mike Carlos, it's like podcast for years, and the one thing that he loved to say, it's like back in the day, is that if a report doesn't make money or save money, then it's useless because at the end of the day, a data product is something that's supposed to help the business, and I think
Yes.
that that skill is always going to be valuable.
Yep. Yeah. Doesn't matter how pretty or how well built it is, if it's not used or if it doesn't drive a business decision, you have paid for a pig with lipstick on it. That is that is some say a waste of money.
Very pretty pig,
So
but yeah, you're right.
it might be a very pretty pig, but yeah, I do think that's where a lot of the conversation comes in, and it's good to have as a skill is being able to talk to stakeholders and like they might think they want X, but it's like, well, what questions that I'm trying to answer? Well, I just know we need that. Why? Because like a business is supposed to know that number. Yeah, but like let's critically think through this. How can that help you drive your business? And like, well, it doesn't do that. Like, well, my favorite question is like, what makes you lose sleep at night? And like that helps to milk out, I think, good information from someone on getting them to critically think on that. And that's hard for you to have a conversation with an LLM that's sycophantic when you need to do that. But that will tell you how to build a better report. If they go
Of
with their
course.
first thought to Copilot, it will build to their specs, and it might be amazing, but the specs might not be what they need. So yeah.
Exactly, right? Like, one of the things, yeah, Jake, if you guys can hear some screeching, it's my neighborhood kids
There's your
outside my
kid.
window.
Nice.
Okay, but I'm gonna say that one of the things, maybe this is a good allegory to kind of wrap up on. One of the things that I've always thought was a really good way of describing, it's like stakeholder is what's the term when you an unreliable narrator? Like, have you ever seen the movie Memento?
Yeah.
It's like, and there's the main character is a guy where you as the viewer are slowly being revealed information, but that information can change very drastically and quickly. And I always feel like it's good to have that healthy level of skepticism for the fact that a requirement is just what they think they need right now. Unless your skill allows you to talk to them, actually discover that what they need when the project is done is what they'll get. No matter how good the
Yep.
output is, it's not gonna, it's like move the needle. It's not gonna be useful. And that's really important to always remember.
Agreed. As we're, is there anything else you want to show? Otherwise, I'll put us over back to the speaker view.
No, I that's it, man. Yeah, I think I showed enough.
Oh no, for sure. Just always going to double check. Is there any final like words of wisdom, sage comments, or anything else that you can think of on like some resources or stuff that I can point some people to for wanting to poke around on this themselves? Maybe things to install, stuff to explore.
Okay, so the first thing that I'd recommend for most people to do is to go and, it's like look up a video on either Claude desktop, Claude code, or, it's like GitHub and actually try to do some of the things that I've shown. I think trying to make a custom visual is a really good place to start because there is a ton of documentation about it. You can see people on LinkedIn are just picking it up and making something right away. It's a really good place to start. If you want to try some of the other heavier stuff, maybe Deneb is a really, really good place to start because, like Jake's been mentioning in chat, it works really well with LLMs. It is a solid place to start if you want to learn about Power BI, not Power, about report generation. And also, follow me and read. We post good stuff on LinkedIn.
Just dropping a couple links. One was Claude Code, and pointing just back to the live stream that a couple weeks back that Zoe Douglas did, where she actually does do a walkthrough of GitHub Copilot in VS Code and basically make it a custom visual in about 15 minutes. So it quite literally is as easy as, hey, use the Microsoft Learn MCP. Here's a picture. Please build me this. And here's the folder to store it in, and you'll just watch it go through, stick out a PBI viz and put it in. It is very easy to use as long as I think the key factor with that is make sure you're asking it to use the Microsoft Learn, which has all the documentation on exactly how to build it. And that will make sure it doesn't just Google and go to somebody's blog post to figure it out. I might have lost your mic. I still have audio.
Oh, no, I muted
There you
myself,
go.
sorry.
No worries.
Yeah. Okay, no, 100%, just fully agreeing with you. Yeah, but it's also like, you know, I think, if I am going to say, it's like one thing is that, it's very easy to get overwhelmed. I think, it's like when it comes to AI, there's like 900,000 things that you could probably think to do. Like, what is OpenClaw? What is, it's like the new Nano Banana thing. Google just dropped a new design item, and Figma's stock dropped 15%. This is all just noise. I think that as
Yeah.
long as you as a person tries a couple of things, even if it doesn't work out, it's much better than just being scared of trying.
Yeah, exactly. To your point of, I think there's a lot. It's almost like applying a rolling average to your data to try to see the trends. If you are checking stuff day by day, every day there's going to be a new. Oh, this is going to kill like X, or like what's another big one? Like OpenClaw and a bunch of it. There's a lot of cool toys every day to check out of things that will kill something else. I think if you look at it at a week by week level or even a month by month level, I think you'll see a lot more of a smoother average of like useful things and not the latest hot thing that everybody wants to get a popular post about. So, smooth your turned out. If anything, actually, I use LLMs a little bit for this, is rather than checking on stuff daily. I have an agent that knows me, knows my company, and it actually does a review of things in the web that have happened in the last week. And every Monday I get a summary of it, applying a practical lens of stuff for me to kind of review as like my little morning thing that I do. But it prevents me from going down rabbit holes. And I think it takes out, or at least I have it try to take out some of the sensationalism and apply a like, is this actually practical, useful? Should I even, give any thought to this thing to keep that noise down to a minimum?
No, for sure, for sure. Yeah, but it's like, okay, someone just asked, it's like, will this be possible to watch? Yeah, of course. Like once
Mhm.
this finishes, I think it'll take like 5 minutes, and then you'll be able to watch everything from the beginning.
Just needs to process and save and like do its music compliance checks and a few others. But yep, yeah, just like this, like all other streams will be available on that. But Injae, as always, I appreciate you taking your time, especially out of a Friday evening, to come on and talk shop. It's always good to geek out on visualizations as we both swim in that space. But otherwise, I'm sure I'll find a good excuse in the next month or year to get you back onto here, because things are, as we're aware, of
Moving
changing so
fast.
rapidly. So yeah,
For
looking forward
sure.
to to nerding out on some future topics with you. But with
Yeah,
that,
man.
yeah, Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys all on the next stream.
Thanks everyone for taking the time to watch us. Take care.
Yes. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. And if you want to help support this channel, take a look at our channel memberships or our merchandise store for cool swag. And last but not least, please consider sharing this video on your social media platform of choice to help our channel grow. So, until next time.